Hello, this is Layla Rao, and we're here for the next story from our LIA100 guest. And my guest today is Carolyn, who is CEO and founder of 10 Women Strong, and she has an amazing history in business beyond that. So Carolyn, welcome.
Welcome, thank you. It's so nice to be here.
Thank you. And as I just referenced, you had an amazing career in business before you are doing this amazing thing with 10 Women Strong. What has your journey been like? Can you connect the dots for us?
Well, if I go all the way back to the very, very beginning of my corporate career, I was the lowest of the low on the totem pole. I think I was the assistant to the assistant secretary's assistant. And I worked my way up, basically going back to school nights and weekends, and worked through marketing department and worked into product development, worked into more general management and communications. So my background has very much been in corporate, from very big consumer products companies like Sara Lee and Stride Rite and Hasbro, and head of marketing for Party Light, Direct Sell. So a lot of really big companies, but also I launched LoJack Stolen Vehicle Recovery System. It was very entrepreneurial opportunity in stolen vehicles, which was very different than baked goods at Sara Lee. And I also developed everything from toys. I was vice president of Play and Discover in one of my roles. So I worked on toys, home products, things like that. And then there came a time in my career where I was doing more of mentoring and coaching and looking into the whole coaching opportunity, executive coaching, and doing some traveling. And I thought, I think I'll leave my corporate life behind and become kind of like, just like a gypsy. But that
totally understandable.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you about your coaching journey as well, because you do have a lot of amazing experience in coaching.
Yes. Yeah, so I went to the Coaches Training Institute. So I went to CTI for my coaches training, more to align with the role that I had in working with teams. I really love working with teams. I love the collaboration that comes from it. I love bringing the best of everyone's talents forward. So whether it was a marketing team that was working on a branding and advertising campaign, or if it was developing Tickle Me Elmo for toys, I loved bringing the best of everyone together. So I initially used the coaching training to do that. It was not so much about big life in general, more like how do I use it in business to collaborate.
Sounds very much like an Agile approach.
Yeah. At the time, I didn't realize how much it was an Agile approach. And so I had taken my CTI coaches training and I never got certified in it. I was just using it as an extra tool in my toolbox in my marketing and developing. And then I decided to go out on my own and become a consultant. And I was working with, I have a really good friend who owns a women's outdoor adventure company called Women's Quest. And I was on one of her trips, and I was coordinating all the women and sending us a newsletter after the fact with recipes and pictures and connect. And she's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "Oh, well, we all want to stay in touch, and we want to, continue to enjoy our journey together." And so I went on another one of her trips, and then I was setting up a Facebook group before we went to make sure who was bringing hair dryer and who was getting there early and who wanted to go out to dinner. And she's like, "Do you know what Facebook is?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And she's like, "Do you want to be me on Facebook? Because I really don't want to do this." And I said, "Sure, I'll take you." I took her on as a client, and I had a couple other clients that I was basically doing either product development or marketing kind of support for. But it's where I really started to see what women could do. When they go off and they're on a trip, a vacation, they're going through a transition in their life oftentimes. And so they're taking this time out to kind of explore more of who they are. And afterwards, how do they go back to the real world? How do they reconnect with what's going on in the real world? So as I was building kind of my consulting, my independent consulting business and using my coaching skills, I was also really starting to work more with women. I had also graduated from a all women's college. I had gone to all girls high school and all women's college. And I have 3 younger sisters. So I've kind of seen the best of the best in terms of what women can do. And I can also see how women have challenged each other in terms of how they connect with each other, or how the culture has set us up to be in competition with one another, especially in the corporate world. So as I built my consulting business and built my coaching skills and had different clients, a lot of them tended to be either women-owned businesses. A lot of them tended to be women-owned businesses, or, I mean, women are mostly the consumers in any business. So understanding who that woman is and what she's looking for and how products and services relate to that woman was something that I was doing in my consulting business. And then along the way, I received, it was funny, I received an email from CTI, from the Coaches Training Institute, and they were looking for an ambassador for regional programs. So they were going to beta test or launch this test program of having an ambassador in different locations. So they were looking for an ambassador in Boston. And so I applied for it. It was kind of funny. When I first got the email, though, I thought it was from a different company that I had done some consulting for. And I'm like, you want me to be an ambassador? Oh, it's CTI. Oh, I love CTI. What are they doing lately? So I did some background looking into where CTI had been and what was going on, because it had been probably 5 or 6 years since I had done the coaching and I had gone out in my own business. And I got the role as ambassador. And what we were to do, there were 3 of us, myself, a woman in Chicago, and a gentleman in Vancouver. The 3 of us were flying out to California to meet Karen Kimseyhouse and stay at the Kimseyhouse house and talk about the ambassador program. So we were coming together to do that. And the day before I was going, I watched a webinar on CTI had a webinar on leadership, on their leadership program, because I was like, I better hurry up and think about, what's the language again? Like, I need to get caught up. So I took this webinar, and I'll never forget this. I mean, it said that on the webinar, they showed that there was 1 opening left in a leadership program that was starting in 2 weeks. And LA Reading would be one of the co-leaders for the leadership program. And I had LA in one of my coaching classes as one of the coaching co-leaders. And I thought, oh shit, that woman scares the heck out of me. I need to sign up for that leadership program. Like there was, how there's something where you're like, oh no, I better do this, right? So I signed up. So I went to sign up for the leadership program, but first I called Karen Kimseyhouse and I said, you want me to go to leadership? And she's like, I do. And I'm like, yes, you do. Because I'm going to be representing CTI and working in the Boston area. And I said, I want to make sure I get that slot. And so as I was flying towards California, she was making sure that I got that last slot that they mentioned in the webinar. So I was like, I'll take it, right? So that's how I took my next step into CTI. And that kind of leads me to the next piece of Lisa Adkins is in my leadership tribe. Yes. So this is how it comes together with how I met Lisa. So our group will be celebrating, our leadership tribe will be celebrating their 10th year of leadership next year. So in about 6 months, we will have known each other 10 years. So Lisa and I met at the leadership program 10 years ago. And she was about, I think it was just a couple months before her book out. So her book wasn't even out yet.
Oh my goodness.
She had not begun the Agile Coaching Institute yet. That was something that she was just formulating some plans for it. And she had signed up for leadership for her own personal and professional development using the CTI leadership program. And that's how we met.
It sounds absolutely extraordinary. So is Lisa how you got into the Agile community, or did that happen independently?
Well, so what happened was Lisa and I kind of stayed connected. So we're in the leadership program is a 10-month program for CTI, and there's 4 retreats. Each one's a week long and we attended at the Bend of Ivy Lodge that's in Marshall, North Carolina. So it's just outside of Asheville. So I'm from Boston. Lisa lives in Virginia. And so 4 times a year, for that year, our whole tribe met there. And I wouldn't say that Lisa and I were particularly close. I do remember one of our leaderships that there was this little dance party and we were dancing to Shania Twain, and Lisa can dance quite great to Shania Twain. It was Then I Feel Like a Woman. Anyway, so that was like 10 years ago. We're there. And then time goes by and we're in contact as people are who have gone through an experience before. I had gone on to do more one-on-one coaching in my business and bringing people to my home and another home that I have. I live on Oldham Pond, just south of Boston. And so we're on this quiet little lake, and I have a home that I turned into my workspace, and I would bring people one-on-one to do retreats as well as doing virtual. And I had our leadership tribe all come for like a reunion leadership, and Lisa came here, and that was maybe 7 years ago. I think it was a couple years out of leadership, and Lisa was here. And then Lisa had, by this time, the book had been published. She had gone on to start the Agile Coaching Institute. And I read part of her book, and I was doing a program somewhere else with somebody else that I worked with. And I was quoting Lisa, and I'm like, oh yeah, I know her. And I'm quoting her from the book, but I wasn't actually like an Agile coach. I just thought this stuff makes sense, right? So I'd quoted some of her work, and Lisa would come to town from time to time because they did some of their programs either in Boston or just north of Boston. So about, now let me think, it was like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, Lisa was coming to town. I picked her up. We were going to brunch with some other people that we know locally, a couple of people from our leadership tribe and other people we know. And Lisa was kind of telling me how her career was going and her business. And I had all these questions. So I had, by this time, formed 10 Women Strong. I had been working with virtual programs first, where people from anywhere in the world. So I had women from the United Arab Emirates. I had people from the UK, people from the US, different women coming together on this virtual program that I had created on 10 Women Strong. And one of my clients that I had done some training and consulting work for asked me to do a leadership program for his all-women team. And so I had done this corporate program, and we were on to our next round of corporate programs. So I had all these like questions for Lisa, as my friend and as a business owner herself, things around partnership agreements and legal things. And during this time, Lisa was moving on from Agile Coaching Institute. So she was turning the business over to another group, and she was starting to be like, okay, what's next for me? So we would get on the phone or Zoom about, probably every, I don't know, I just jump on her calendar every couple of months, and we'd have conversations, and they'd go something like, oh, Lisa, I got to tell you about this amazing woman that I just met on our program, and this is what she did, and it worked out really well. And hey, do you know where I could get like an accounting help, because I really need to get somebody to help on counting? And she would give me some ideas, and then she would tell me, well, I'm not really sure what I want to do next. What do you think? And I go, I think you should do nothing. I said to her, I said, why don't you take dance lessons or painting, or you sing. Why don't you take some more singing lessons? And she goes, well, I was thinking I might consult. I go, don't consult. Don't write another book. don't sign up for anything, right? So I was the one that was encouraging her to really do nothing, to get really clean and clear on who she is and what she really wanted in her life. And she was helping me kind of figure out the next steps in my business. So this went on for a while. I'm telling her about the business, totally separate, 10 Women Strong, lead life on purpose, dynamic and inspiring women coming together, all these things. And she's telling me about, singing karaoke and signing up for choir dance and doing these different things, right? So one day we're having a conversation and I told her, one of these amazing stories about an amazing woman in our program. And she just stops and looks at me and she goes, "We need this for women in Agile, like right now." And I go, "Yes, you do." And then I was like, "And what was the name of that accounting person again?" And she's like, "No, I'm serious. Carolyn, we need this." And I go, "Okay, but we're not doing it this year." And this was like a year ago. And she said, "What do you mean we're not doing it this year?" I go, "Because you're not committing to anything." And I turned my home. I've now since given up having my business at home and doing one-on-one retreats and doing more traveling and corporate programs and things like that. And my son and daughter-in-law moved in a couple years ago and had my granddaughter. And I said, my granddaughter is only a couple months old, and I am not going to do any more programs than what's already on my plate because I get to spend time with her that I'll never get time again. So I said, so yeah, I really want to do that. I really want to do Women in Agile. You have my commitment. What day do you want to do it in 2019? Because we're not doing anything in 2018. And so that was like a little more than a year ago that we said that. And we put dates on the calendar. And I called the Bend of Ivy Lodge where we had gone to leadership together. And that's where I do the programs for 10 Women Strong. That's where we have we don't call them retreats. We call them advances because we don't retreat, we advance. And so,
terminology.
yeah. So, it's words have meaning, right? You put out there what you want to bring back. So Lisa and I put on the calendar an opening advance for this year in March, and the closing advance would be in May. And we worked it around our schedules that we knew that those times would work. And then we also then put the group calls on our calendar and blocked that. So we knew we were going to do it together. We knew what we were going to do. We knew why we were going to do it. We just weren't going to do anything immediately. And then so it was probably a month later, and Lisa's in Scotland. And she's with Deborah Preuss, who is a great Agile coach. Has her own business. And she's sitting with Lisa and she said, "Lisa, I'd really like to do something for women. I really want them to reboot, rejuvenate, feel really good about themselves." And so Lisa looks at her and she's like, "You need to call Carolyn because she has a virtual program she's been doing for a number of years. And we're now going to do the in-person virtual leadership program, but she has another program that's all virtual." So Deb called me. Well, I think Lisa picked up the phone and called while Deb was sitting there. Like, "I need to introduce you, right? This is like Lisa, right?" So within like a 2-week period, just over a year ago, we had 2 program ideas. We knew we were going to do Agile Women in Leadership, and we were going to we called it the Shine program. So Women in Agile Shine virtual program. And then within, I think, a month of our discussing it, I pulled together a couple of the concepts of what I thought it would be and what I thought the benefits would be and what I've seen work. And I sent them to Deb and to Lisa to review. And I want to say within a week, we had it up on the 10 Women Strong website and we started taking registrations for the program. So we went from Lisa and I just chatting it up, "How are you doing? Don't do anything," to let's just bookmark that to do that. And then the second thing was she said, "We need this for also for the virtual too." So Deb is located in Germany and we have co-led the inaugural Shine program, and Lisa and I co-led the inaugural Agile Women in Leadership program within a year after just saying we were going to talk about doing it.
Wow. So get amazing women together and things happen fast.
Yes. Yes. Like, you know what they say about if you want something done, give it to a busy woman, because so this is what I've learned about Agile. So this brings me to my Agile introduction. Not only do you bring it to a woman, a busy woman, but you bring it to a busy Agile woman. And what are you experiencing with all of these women that you see, right? These amazing women that step in and step up and make things happen. So I'm really we're on a high because we just came off the virtual program that we did last fall and seeing where all of those women, because there's magic in the mixture of each individual woman on her journey and what the group brings together. And then there's where will it take them afterwards? It's kind of like that caterpillar in the goo and having to just transform, and then they start to try their butterfly wings and where they're flying around. So so we're just starting to see the amazing, the amazing things these women are doing. And I have to give a hat tip to the men. Okay, so this is not about we're not for men. We all love men. We just want to go first a little bit. So what I found from all this time with women is we're really kind and generous and really want to do the best. We have a little bit of a perfectionist thing. And so we want to really help and overhelp. And men, sometimes they'll just kind of, fly by the seat of their pants and figure out they can do it and they'll do it. But women, we kind of want to lay it out, right? So this was a big call to action for women to just go time out. You're important. So Halim Dunsky, who has worked with Lisa with the Agile Coaching Institute. I was introduced to him, and he was a great ally when we were looking for women for the program, putting it out there to people that he knew in his network. There are David, a number of men have been so generous about saying, hey, there's these women on our team, or I'm working with somebody, or how do I bring this into my organization for the women on my team? And so what's been really wonderful about it is and then they'll say, how do we get a program for men? And so we go, you're next. You're we call that 10 Women Strong 2.0. So first we're going to get all the women to strengthen, because 10 Women Strong isn't about bringing together 10 women, even though in some of our programs that's the limit of how many we'll put on a call together, but it's about living your life at a 10. So we aspire to live each part of our life at a 10. So whether that's your career or your health or your spirituality, in what place are you really wanting to push yourself to live your life at a 10? And then we want to strengthen that for you. So we want to be that strong core that helps you lead your life on purpose. So the men that have been the rich allies for us have brought women to us because they care and they want them to succeed. And can I just tell you, from a business success standpoint, I'll tell you about some of my corporate clients. Within 2 weeks of their women being on our program, I'm getting phone calls from their sponsors, their bosses, the people on their team saying, oh my gosh, this program is already paid back. Because women bring so much to the table, and when they're living and leading from a place of confidence and strength that they get by being in community with other women, and a kick in the butt, because that comes with the course too. They're just producing more, but they're also integrating more people into the work. So they're bringing more people into the conversation. So that's I got to the Agile life by through knowing Lisa, and then Lisa gave me an introduction to people in the industry, in the area. And I actually I flew out to experience Agile in Portugal, in Lisbon, last October for the weekend, to meet Deb in person, because I hadn't met her in person.
Wow.
And to give Lisa a hug and to sit through, go to conference and kind of figure out what that thing is. And, but I met everyone from the place that is who they are. And we're all human beings, and being together and being connected and wanting the best for each other is what I've seen in that Agile world. And they can make a lot of stuff happen.
That's true. And it's really interesting hearing about our community from somebody who has a different perspective. And it is good to hear. I think this is a conversation we could probably have for a very long time. But I do want to make sure I get your thoughts on, based on your own journey, as well as all the other people you've coached and seen them evolve and get to whatever their next step is, what would be your advice for all this next generation of women who are coming into a very different world than the one that I think we faced?
Yep.
What would you recommend, or what?
So I'm going to tell you the biggest learning that I personally have had, and I want to, I guess it's probably one of the so first I'll tell you just the 10 Women Strong structure and process, which kind of reflects this thought. Is we call it the ACE process, authentic, creative, expressive. And the first step is start authentically. And the second step is explore creatively. And the third step is live expressively. And so this is what I would say is the first thing that everyone, young women, men, everyone, but we're working with women, is start authentically. And in order to start authentically, you really have to pause. And this is what this program does, as well as on the 10th of every month, we offer something called the Purposeful Pause. It's totally free. You just sign up to a Zoom call, and we do 10 minutes of silence, nothing. We do it for 10 times. You can sign in from anywhere in the world, because the pause. So this is the thing. So start authentically, and everybody says, but I don't know what I want, or I'm not sure if that's right for me, or I'm feeling a lot of things going on in the world and I'm feeling really uncertain. And what do we do when we're feeling uncertain or overwhelmed? We hurry up and move away from it, or find something to distract ourselves from it. And so the idea with start authentically is to pause first, to really stop, to breathe, and really connect with yourself. And so with the first step of our program, we also offer some assessment tools, like we use the Gallup-Clifton Strength Finders, we use the Myers-Briggs, but really what we're doing is just peeling back those masks and those roles and those things that you've taken on to just get to be you, right? And as that first step, then you're laying a foundation for everything that you'll put on top of it. So when you're not sure what to do, the best thing to do is stop and breathe, right? Just stop, breathe, start authentically. And then next step that comes after that is explore creatively. And by explore creatively, you know this with any experiment that you do. If this is what I really have, if this is who I really am, where could I go? What could I do? Who could I ask? What feels like the next step? And then just really push that out. So just either with somebody else, because it's always great to have somebody else when you're in that exploration thing, so somebody to really push the idea of where could I go? What could I do? What could be a challenge? What could be a small experiment that I could do? So we do explore creatively as the next thing. And then the next step is actually do it. So one of the things I see all the time is I see these amazing women who, when they peel it all back to who they are, they're as amazing and awesome as they were when they were like a 5-year-old little girl, right? who knew what her personality was and knew what she liked, but they put on all these roles and got a little bit lost in their head, and they slow down and they check in with themselves. Like Lisa, I'm going to say Lisa was a great example of this, and checked in with what she wanted in her life and how she wanted to show up, because what was important. And then she started to explore, where could I use this? And then as soon as you hit on one of those that means something to you, then it's do it. Live expressively. So raise your hand and say, I want to do a talk, or I want to practice my talk for you that someday I'm going to give to other people. Like, sometimes the mountain isn't just the first step up the mountain. There's a lot of little steps, but if you're just staring at the mountain and saying, I'm not going to be happy till I'm there, you got to be happy on the journey. So live expressively. So if I circle this back to what I would tell young women, you know who you are. Don't let anybody tell you that you're not enough, that you don't have enough, that you're not right. You are 100% enough, right? So this is like, go to authentically who you are. Then, yeah, you're going to have to get creative. How do you make yourself visible in this world? How do you manage your overwhelm? How do you say no? How do you put up boundaries? How do you know what to say yes to, right? And then you need to go do it. And the one thing that I know about women is we're all better when we're connected with other women, because women are helping each other be who they are, right? So to live expressively, it takes a lot of courage and confidence and being bold. So if you have people in your circle that are not encouraging you, if their goal is to find all the problems with all the things that you're trying to create, if they're not, kind of that wind beneath your wings kind of thing, you need to find yourself another circle. And it's often hard, that old analogy about crabs in a basket. When one of the crabs starts to get out, then they start to pull them back in. Well, there used to be that thought that that's how women are with other women, and that is not true. The more we shine, the more there is for everyone else. And the stronger we get, the stronger each of us get, the stronger it helps everyone else. So that would be, if I can use the structure of the ACE process in terms of what I would say for younger women coming up in terms of what process they should follow, is start authentically, explore creatively, and live expressively, and repeat and repeat and repeat.
It is a journey. That's an incredibly powerful lesson for everyone, I think, because we're all going to be facing transitions, and we need that ethos of what's next and being open and pursuing. And I love the last part of do it, because there's no substitute for actually taking action.
Yes. I wish that in my career, there's things that I'm seeing now that women are trying and exploring and things. Like, I just took up running. Like, I'm like a grandmother, and I took up running, and my son's like, yeah, why did you take that up? I go, 'cause my legs still work. But I took up running, and I ran my first 5K season, and I'm like, I came in out of 7 in my age and gender group. Of course, the woman who came in 7th was pushing a stroller with her granddaughter in it. So I'm in a whole other category of running, but I do wish I had done more of those things when I was younger, and so it's all possible to do it, but you have to pause first and get clear. And I would say that this purposeful pause day, so the 10th of every month, we do these 10-minute pauses 10 times. You don't have to come on our call. Just set your timer at the top of the hour for 10 minutes. And then have a list of micro projects next to you that you're going to do in between that hour. Like, kind of honor your time. Honor the top of the hour with 10 minutes of a pause to check in for what is authentic for you, what is calling to you. And then look, when you come off that 10-minute timer of just like breathing and sitting, look at your list of things that you wanted to do, and then pick something intentionally, purposefully, that really calls to you. And I think that's the biggest learning I've had, is where mindfulness and intentional and gratitude can make everything better.
That sounds like a perfect way to wrap up this conversation for LIA 100. Thank you, Carolyn.